allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't move anything out of the doors, so.
We didn't do the ceremonial changing of the doors.
No, they didn't.
Come on.
Okay.
Just put these on.
On that note, we had a ceremonial changing of the pens, though. So we were good. All is good. This is my favorite pen. It's the Bic Atlanta. Anybody wants to know?
That's the one.
D1. This is my favorite pen. I have to have a gazillion pens, and this is the one.
You're formally endorsing that pen?
I'm formally endorsing this particular pen. So it's smooth writing, never fails, has special ink for checks, so it doesn't wash off the check. You know about check washing?
Oh, yeah.
It's a good way to steal somebody's checks with certain ink. You run it through acetone, and it takes the ink off the check, and so you can rewrite the signature on the check. But you can't do that with certain pens. So, anyway. Sorry. So we're going to start with the meeting minutes.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of January 8th, 2015.
I'll move. Second.
Aye.
Well, you guys are throwing me out here. Commissioner Rea?
I was absent for most of that meeting, so I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Can you speak up a little, please? It's hard to hear you back here.
We just approved the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we're going to approve the financials. So I guess Heidi's on.
Okay. Your financials today include supplemental appropriations for the Water Resources Thompson Wastewater Treatment Plant Project Fund and the Sheriff's Rotary Fund for task force vehicle replacements. Travel request for the Office of Community and Economic Development, the Engineer's Office, Department of Job and Family Services, and the Department of Water Resources. Payment to New World Systems Corporation for the annual software maintenance agreement, the amount of $107,743. Payment to Ravenwood Center for the first quarter 2015 funding for the Youth Center in the amount of $104,105. Payment to building technicians for pay request number 2 for the Board of DD roof replacement project in the amount of $216,528. Payment to McPhillips Plumbing and Heating for the HVAC relocation project for the Board of DD administration. Building roof replacement project in the amount of $24,240.
I'll move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Saying, I guess we can go on and item number 3, Department of Aging.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi.
So our new escort driver started today, Frank, so we were not able to get him on the credit cards when we did the reorganization meeting, so we wanted to finally get him on the gas cards.
We have a motion.
Read it.
The Department on Aging is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the application for authorization to permit use of county credit cards form personnel policy 7.11 form ORC 301.27 to include Frank Kurtz on the BP Giant Eagle Fleet Services under Western Reserve Farm Cooperative cards per month with a per month amount of $2,000.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Did you want me to say anything about the advisory board we had met about, or would you like me to come back another time?
We can I guess we can have that discussion now if it's, if there's no objection, so go ahead.
Okay, I was visited by Commissioner Claypool regarding the Department on Aging Advisory Board, and we just went through the bylaws together, and the advisory board has a membership committee of its own, and they appoint their own members. What the advisory board does is I am able to run the programs by them. They can give me recommendations, and I would bring those recommendations to you. They have no financial control at all. They really have no, there's no issues. You have the final decision on how we spend our money at the Department on Aging. In the bylaws, however, you each may appoint someone to the committee, should you like.
So in essentially they are what it is. It says it is. They are an advisory
Yes,
board.
it is not a governance
They
board, it's an
don't have
advisory
any
board.
governing, they can't set policy, programs, or anything to do with pay.
That is absolutely correct. You are the governance board for the
And the
Department on
advisory
Aging.
board is not selected by us, it is selected by the committee, I guess,
Yeah, the
according to the
members.
bylaws. And so the choice that we have is if each of us choose to select, and that's individually, by the way, each of us individually gets to select a member to be on the board, if we choose to.
What's the total number that you operate with?
I think we're between 15 and 17. I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Is that-
We have no less than 11
Okay.
and no greater than 25.
Okay, so there's the parameters, and,
Right. We were having issues obtaining a quorum, which is why we lowered the bottom number to 11, because we didn't have a quorum for much of the time. So there is an attendance requirement as well. Yes.
and there's an age requirement too, right?
60% of the advisory board, we would like age 60 or over. So we're making sure that we are getting hearing the voice of the seniors in the community.
I'm surprised, I thought it was all over that number, but apparently not.
60 or greater.
If you're like 25 and don't have any, aren't busy, you can go work on that.
Well, you may be working in the healthcare industry as an administrator, be dealing with
Alright,
seniors, so,
alright.
you know, that voice would be important as well. You also must be a resident of Geauga County or work in Geauga County.
Point taken, very good, thank you.
So if you'd like to appoint someone, please let me know. You each may have a representative. We meet the third Wednesday of each month at 1 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is to replace Evan Coons with Mark Miller. I had a conversation with him, I'm not sure if the other commissioners did, but this resolution is to appoint Mr. Miller to replace Mr. Coons. Any discussion?
Talked to him on Saturday.
Good. Want to read the resolution?
The Board of Developmental Disabilities is requesting the board appoint Martin Miller to the Developmental Disabilities Board to fill the unexpired term of Erwin Coons through December 31st, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Hi, Anita.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How did you know that you were next?
So a new era, eh? Holy smokes.
Not much change, just reshuffle the deck. The deck is the same.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay. Did you want to go ahead and, the
Okay.
opposite?
This is back again, is Zestive. If you remember, we've done a couple other preliminary things, and now this is final. These are the legal documents. They've been signed by Laura, the prosecutor, assistant prosecutor, and this is for a working capital loan for Zestive, which is the new division of DeMarie. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean,
Oh, am I on the-
yeah.
You're
Oh, I'm
on
on
the-
the,
that's
I'm
right.
on the
sorry.
next
I-
one.
You're good.
The
you're good.
public hearing, okay, well, Skip and I already talked about the public hearing. It's anything that we have a possibility of applying for. Every time we apply for a grant, we have to have 2 public hearings. So the first one we put through with everything that we could possibly apply for, and it's out of the way. Then if we decide on a grant that we do really want, we would have another public hearing specific to that grant, to give everybody a chance to comment on it. So this is just covering all our bases, getting it out there and out of the way, and then if the board chooses, we'll specifically apply for a grant. And so we're requesting a public hearing on the 3rd at 9:15.
Okay, any discussion? Want to read the resolution?
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board grant permission to advertise to hold public hearing number 1 for the 2015 Community Development Block Grant Available Programs to be held on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015 at 9:15 p.m. Notice of this public hearing will be advertised on January 22nd, 2015 and on the county website.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Clayton?
Obviously not that second, since I started the wrong one. Okay, now back to Zestive. So this is the final step in Zestive, the documents to be signed for a $45,000 loan at 5% for 3 years since it's working capital. So Dee Marie has been in business for a while in Knowles Industrial Park. They're renting from Ted Williams' building there on West Park. They're hoping that the next step will be actually buying a building, so still in Geauga. So we're hoping they continue to grow.
Could you refresh my memory? Is this the snack food place or?
It's not technically snack food, it's sort of gourmet baskets. They do, they put together gift baskets,
Okay,
and then they've been
okay.
selling them as Dee Marie. And they've been out there since 2002 doing that, so it's a lot of internet sales. With Zestive, it's gonna be more direct sales through parties, at-home parties, sort of like, I guess I don't, what is it?
It's okay.
When you have a party and you sell
Right.
stuff, pampered chef sort of a thing,
Okay.
but they're not selling, they're selling goods, gift basket sort of things, your new job, your this, your that. A lot of things that go with wine and higher end stuff, so they've seen a niche opening with what they've been doing, so Dee Marie becomes a supplier to Zestive. So, but they want them separate, the company's separate, so separate books on that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Want to read the resolution?
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and execute the legal binding documents for the revolving grant fund loan to Zestive Incorporated for working capital at 16758 West Park Circle Drive, Cambridge Township, in the amount of $45,000 for 3 years at 5% interest, including loan servicing letter, participation agreement, mortgage, promissory note, guarantee of Zestive Incorporated, and guarantee of Dee Marie Incorporated.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Clayton?
Aye.
Okay, writer's cramp by the time we get done with that.
It's a big stack. Before you leave, I'd like for you to, Anita and I had a long conversation the other day about grants coming into Geauga County, strings attached,
Oh, yeah.
how they might bring in other unintended consequences associated with the grants and so forth. I must say, I walked away from that conversation more impressed with Anita. I've always been impressed with Anita. We are blessed to have someone like Anita, and she says she's going to retire. She might be the first exception that I know of to retire that I would do. No, I'm just kidding. She said she wouldn't do that anymore.
I promise.
But it is because we have Anita that we're able to hold off, because she filters many of the grants to determine what their impact is. There are some counties, Summit being one right now, and some others down south, that HUD is pushing an agenda into their counties through the grants that they're accepting. And so, did you want to mention something about that, or
Probably not.
would you feel comfortable with that? Okay.
Probably not.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a
I
pass
told
on
you
that.
when I get closer.
Okay. I was going to put her on the spot and ask her to explain more. So, if you ever want to know, just have a private conversation with Anita.
Yeah, I'll
She can
do
share
it
some things with you.
privately, I'll see.
And thank you, Anita.
Thank you. Wow,
Good.
that was really nice, I appreciate it.
No
All right,
problem.
I'm
You're
done.
Yeah, we're giving you all your money. You can't get any more, so. go.
Thanks.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, Joe. County engineer wants to approve the Ohio Department of Transportation County Highway System millage.
Mileage.
Is it millage? Oh, mileage certification. Do you want to explain?
135 mils, that's gonna be broken.
Yeah.
I gotta move, I'm sorry.
There's a few adjustments from the previous year. They'll go through, most of these roads were probably measured back in the 50s. And whenever they find some discrepancies, they mileage them. Some were started at the wrong end, usually start from the west and the south on roads. Some were not started that way. One of them they took out, Aquila Village was never taken out of Aquila Road. So just some minor adjustments. I think it ended up being 0.6 of a mile deduction for this year.
So we recalibrated the ruler from 1950 to today? Is that what the deal is?
Well, it's a constant process. Every year we go through this.
Some of it.
Generally speaking, it's really the townships that get adjusted when subdivisions are added and so forth. But every once in a while, it's fixed, adjusted, or municipality line moves, they,
Curiosity, how do you measure that?
The DMI
Yeah.
instrument here.
It's,
Auto.
right, it's actually driven mileage. It's not.
Okay, it's not a GPS thing
No,
or
it's
something
not
like that?
not a horizontal. It's actually a driven mileage, straight line mileage.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, there's a big difference, vast difference. If you're working off a single plane.
Anybody with the GPS can tell you that. I mean, it's only a mile away in a straight line.
Okay, any other discussion about that? Now you want to read it?
County Engineer's Office is requesting the board approve and execute the Ohio Department of Transportation 2014 County Highway System mileage certification for 235.674 miles.
I'll move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
All right.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay, next up, we want to improve Old State Road.
Yeah, the next three items we have on here are all improvement projects.
Morning. Hey, Shane.
Just resurfacing, we talked about it last time we were here. This is just the process that is needed. Here, if you would approve and execute the resolution to order the improvement. I don't know if you want to mention anything about the projects.
No.
Traffic's maintained in all three of them.
Yeah. Basically, this is our final step to preparing these for bidding. The final bid dates will be provided at a later time once it goes through the final ODOT process. We'll set the dates at that point and do that through this office.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, go ahead and read all three. I think we can just approve them at the same time.
The County Engineer's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 15-006 to order the improvement of Old State Road CH6 sections B through H in Middlefield and Parkman Township. This resolution further requests the board approve and execute the title sheet for the specifications for the same. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 15-007 to order the improvement of Chagrin Road CH9 sections C through E in Bainbridge Township. This resolution further requests the board approve and execute the title sheet and the specifications for the same. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 15-008 to order the improvement of Ravenna Road, CH601 sections A through D in Chardon Township. This resolution further requests the board approve and execute the title sheet for the specifications for the same.
Make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay, approved.
Thanks, folks. Thanks, Shane. Bye-bye now.
Transit?
I'm handling this for Mike, who's tied up this morning. This is just a quarterly application for refund of Ohio motor fuel tax that's paid when we buy the fuel, and we can apply for the refund. So it's just an action to do that.
So Dave, explain to me what that, how that works. So we go out and buy the fuel, we have to pay the tax, and then they're reimbursing us the tax because
Correct.
we have a...
We buy the fuel delivered in bulk to Transit, and we pay the vendor for the Ohio fuel tax, and then we turn around and apply for a refund.
We have bulk tanks there, right?
Right, for diesel. And now it looks like we may be transitioning to gasoline.
Okay. Any other discussion?
The Transit Department is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the Ohio Motor Fuel Tax Refund Fund for transit buses for the period October 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014 in the amount of $2,486.43.
I'll move.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay. And the next item up is Commissioner's Office requesting the board request the county auditor to issue the balance in domestic violence fund. Do we have somebody from the auditor's office here?
Now, this is something it's processed through our office. Women's Safe applies every year to receive the balance that's accumulated in the domestic violence fund. Because they are, by law, those monies have to be distributed to an agency that addresses or helps people in this situation. And Women's Safe is the only one that qualifies to do it. So every year they make the application, and then we turn around and provide them per ORC what's in the account. This year's $14,699.
Okay, you want to read the resolution?
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board request the county auditor to distribute the balance in the Domestic Violence Fund 2070 to Women's Safe, the local agency designated by the Commissioners to receive such monies. This allocation is to be paid pursuant to Section 3113.34 of the ORC for the 2014 year in the amount of $14,699.
I'll move.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay, the next resolution has to do with not requesting a hearing for a liquor license. We'll go ahead and read that resolution.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board concur with Newbury Township trustees in not requesting a hearing on a liquor license requested by Paradise Pub and Eatery LLC located at 10655 Kinson Road, Newbury, C, TRFO 6695472.
I'll move.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Bear with me a second. Okay, you want to read the next resolution?
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 15-009 to designate the official representative and alternate for the purpose of voting at the annual meeting of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio in 2015.
Any discussion?
What is this one?
We gotta pick two people.
It's the president and vice president.
So move.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay, that's all the agenda items. There's some other discussion items that we actually have on the docket. One of those has to do with the board members, and each of you have a document that Christie put together that shows a list of board members that for each individual department that we have an opportunity to appoint for and what the schedule is. And so I thought we'd have a discussion about how we wanted to proceed on that. Department of Aging, we've already set aside because of that conversation with Jessica. So relative to the rest of the board, do you have any thoughts or feelings about the how to proceed on choosing and going through the process of selecting the board members?
No, I don't.
No? We'd already talked about an interview process with a few of these. So we have the Fair Housing Commission, one individual, Job and Family Services, we have, looks like what, 8 individuals. We have 1 resume, and so, and then with the Department of Development, we did that one today, so that one's off the table. The Law Library, we have 4 individuals who have, whose names have been submitted, 1 resume.
Frank's resume is also been.
Okay, so we have 2 resumes out of the 4 individuals. So, unless you have strong feelings one way or the other, perhaps we can put together a plan where we can start working through these. With the planning commission being the next probably priority. So, unless you want to have further discussion around that, then that's what I'm going to suggest.
As far as
The order of going down through these and getting this done. So we have various people that are being named and or who have applied for various.
do you want to go ahead to put these people on then?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that we've got to
Interview.
somehow find a process to
Right.
get through these.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the law library, for example, I don't know what the priority is to the commissioner's office on the library. It's something, we need to get that done. And so if we requested the resumes of these individuals, then we'll have those, each individually review the resumes,
Right.
interview them as we see fit, and then do as we did with the Department of Development.
All right, so you're not planning to take action today, then you're
No,
just trying to?
no, I'm just trying to get some sort of a process.
How do you intend to schedule everybody and get everybody in here to have these interviews? Us and others, the applicants, and then the three of us, and then whether it's David or Linda, or someone from central office that's gonna take care of the paperwork and so on. Here, Skip.
And this one again? Gee,
Got it.
that's what I get for you.
Yeah, well, we'd be lucky. You got somebody to double check you. I could be missing them right and left.
And then if you miss it, I go through them.
See how the tabs we got?
That's who will double check.
Yeah.
I will find you if you miss something.
Yeah, she'll hunt you down.
She does, she comes.
Like a dog.
Well, what I'm gonna suggest is this, I mean, there's some departments that we can do as we did with the Department of Development, and that is, we can individually call people, look at the resumes, and make a determination. There's other departments that are, of greater importance, and those we probably ought to do the interviews for. And we can determine that together, which departments we think are ones that we want to interview people for, and not. So for example, Department of Mental Health, if those come up, would be one that I would suggest strongly we sit down and we interview people for, and we have a discussion with. The County Planning Commission is one that I would suggest that we actually get the resumes for individuals, sit down and have a conversation with them. So others of those, and the law library being one, I think we would probably just take a look at the resumes, make a determination, and then.
That wasn't the board.
No.
Right, okay. That was just, employee, not a board member.
You know, we have one, it appears one board, or one seat for the Fair Housing Commission.
Skipped it.
Yeah.
It's consistent.
So I don't think I signed this stack at all. So, so what are your thoughts on that? Jobs and Family Services, for example, I think those we ought to bring in. You look at the resume, bring those in and interview them.
It is. I think too, that the only other question is getting the message out there that these vacancies are actually available to, I mean, where have we posted them, that they're vacant, to give other people in the county an opportunity to apply?
Well, it's in the paper.
The Planning Commission, I believe, was the only one that
Was that the only one that I read in the paper?
Right.
Okay. Well, then, that's our bad. We need to have them in.
You know, and that's a real good question you bring up, Blake, because I don't know how many of them actually put the word out. So
Right.
like the law library, I'm not sure that they advertise for that. I think people are selecting them. So various attorneys or whoever who has a vested interest in
No
filling
argument
those
there.
seats.
It's just,
Right.
And so we probably ought to find out what the policy is for each of these boards that we're going to be naming people to, and if they have a public process, understand what that is. I didn't know that the Planning Commission put something out publicly. I know that I've suggested to some individuals that they should apply. And think everybody here has the opportunity to do that,
Well,
so.
Yeah, I mean,
it
the
would
planning.
seem to me if it's our responsibility
Mhm.
to appoint these people, then it should, at a minimum, be our responsibility to make sure that it's advertised. I mean, the departments can do, or the boards can do what they want, but in order for us to ensure that it's advertised, that needs to be something we do internally. We make sure, I mean, it's not gonna hurt if it's advertised twice.
No, no, you're right. If it's our responsibility, we gotta be taking that responsibility and running with it. So, this one's done in Department of Aging, unless you guys wanna name somebody to fill those seats, is done. So, what was the one that we talked about this morning, that was, we were talking about interviewing?
DES. That's for.
That was,
DES.
I had that
That's for
confused,
employees.
that's an employee that,
Yeah, okay, so that's a different situation, because that's not a board member, that's actually.
That's what it was.
So we're gonna be interviewing for that. But, you know, if I go down through the remaining, we've got the NOCCOG, which I don't have another conversation about. Western Reserve, RCND, Fair Housing, and Family Services and Planning, and the Law Library. And so, Dave, can we put together what has been done public notice-wise with each of these? And then come up with our own plan to do a public notice and define names?
Yep.
And then at our next meeting, maybe next Thursday, or next Tuesday, we'll have a discussion to try and figure out how we push this thing forward.
Sure.
So we'll come up with some sort of schedule. We already have some resumes and names for like the planning commission.
Right.
They need to have somebody, thanks guys, they need to have somebody, we need to fill those positions, so we need to move forward proactively and get those things done. So if we can just come together with some sort of a plan, that'd be great, I think. So Dave, let's make that an objective to
Yep.
come up with some sort of a
Does each-
positive plan.
each of these boards have a timeline? In other words,
There is no timeline, but what we create.
Well, some of them meet sooner, some meet later. Like, for example, the Family Services Planning Commission that I'm on, they don't typically meet until sometime toward the end of the first quarter. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
one where we have a little bit of time. There's others that may want to be meeting here in the next couple of weeks. We need to figure out a way to move forward.
yeah, we need to prioritize how we look at them
Mhm.
on a basis that's defendable, makes sense. Why did you look at this board? Well, because their meeting is in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Why didn't you look at that board? Because they don't meet until April. I mean, that's what
Yep.
makes sense to me, but,
Yep.
you know, I don't know. Unless there's a term, and then that'd be different. If you're on this board, and it goes off, you know, the expiration date of a board member's the end of the year,
Right.
or sometime like that, then that
Well,
that
it-
establishes the urgency of the interview.
Well, Family Services Planning Commission, for example, there's a number of people whose term expired at the end of 14, but they're not meeting, so we have time. There's others that may have expired and they have a meeting fairly soon, so we gotta figure out a way to fast track those.
So Dave, why don't you put together a suggested schedule?
Yeah.
And then we'll between the
We'll
three of
go
us,
over
sort out.
I'll get it to
how we're
all of
gonna
you,
work
and then
this
by
out.
next Tuesday, we'll have
Good.
an action plan.
Let's have a quick conversation about NOCCOG.
Before we do that, what, the other question is the, we need to try to figure out something. I mean, I was looking at some of the mail costs, you know, of what our postage is, and it's up there.
Mhm.
I think what we need to do is like exactly with this, I mean, we're relying on the papers, basically is what we're doing for the posting. But, you know, how many doesn't really saturate percentages of our actual citizens
Oh,
that live
absolutely.
here? I mean,
Right.
it's a very small percentage of
Right.
people that we cover.
Right.
So I'm almost thinking that, you know, instead of like, say, for example, the dog warden sends out notices for dog tags and all that, that we basically consolidate with some of these other departments. For example, like Water Resources sends out an invoice for their water bill to a lot of these people. If there's a way that we could try to, I mean, I know it's gonna be a little bit of a task, but if we sent out a newsletter, you know, that we hit every household and put in there, you know, some of the actual, you know, things that we're working on, or, you know, postings coming up, future, you know, our meeting schedules, and, you know, dog tags are due such and such, you know, dog license registration, or, you know, maybe a guide that gives different people's telephone numbers, or something to just kind of reach out to people. And if there's a way that we could consolidate with some of these people, so that if we're spending one stamp, might as well get on that run. And
Yeah, we have to find the agency that has the widest distribution, like Water Resources sends out bills, but it's just the people that have either water or sewer through Water Resources. So that's maybe 25–30% of the citizens have that. Dog owners, you know, it's dog owners. It's really, and you have property tax bills, but a lot of people rent, so they don't get it. So there's no one existing county mail that I'm aware of off the top of my head that goes to everybody. We can certainly think about it and try and figure out the best way to.
Well, you know, feeding off of what Ralph just said, I mean, we can get kind of out of the box and creative a little bit. Doing a newsletter is an interesting idea, a county newsletter, which would include some of the standard notices, you know, not one-time kinds of things. But we could do an insert in the Maple Leaf or the papers that exist within Geauga County, relatively.
yeah, but that's, I mean,
inexpensive.
we're going
That's
back to the
limited-
newspaper,
that's
it's
limited
limited exposure, you know?
exposure.
I mean, it's a small percentage of the people of the county, you know, so, I mean, it's the saturation really, you know, I mean, it's not, I mean, there, when you do a saturation mailing in Geauga, you're looking at almost 37,000 households. Where, you know, if you look at what the distribution is between our papers that we advertise in,
About
it's,
10,000.
you know, so we're,
But some of that's not in Geauga County.
so, you know, we're not really hitting every resident of the county, so it's almost like, do we turn around and put a newsletter together, you know? And you know, and obviously we don't wanna get crazy and put it every month, cause it's gonna cost us a lot of money to, you know, if we do a saturation, it's gonna cost us like 17 cents a piece is what, you know, saturation rate is. So you're looking at, I don't know, what's 17 cents times 35,000? About $6,000, is it? So, you know, it's an expense that we would take on, but at the same time, you know, I think that part of the situation is we have uninformed residents, and then all of a sudden something, you know, issues like this come up, nobody gets engaged in this because they don't really know what's going on.
Well, we have made a move to start using our website more. And so Dave, Christie, and myself are going to have access to the internet to be able to make the update and keep up to date. And you guys, by the way, if you're interested, throw your names in the hat. But to keep the website up to date. And I don't plan on doing it. I just have the access because I'm a technical guy and I can maybe help. But so we are going to be using the internet more. And the more we focus on that, the more we direct people to the internet, then they'll notice start getting into the habit if there's a notice or something. That can be a part of the equation. And then with a newsletter constantly that we'll go out on a periodic basis, and we're brainstorming here, so this is just thinking out of the box a little bit. We could come up with some sort of a formula that would really engage people across this county and what's going on, and let them know, you know.
The biggest thing is, I mean, they have to continue to check back on our website. You know, it's, you wanna be able to obtain an email address to get them on a mailer.
Yeah, we can do
Electronic
email
mail.
too, because right now, a lot of people are on email blast, and so you could actually collect their email
Right, that's what I'm
address.
saying, so that they
So,
could
sure.
actually sign up to receive all the updates, and then at the end of the day, what we don't wanna do is every day send something, cause people are finally gonna just get tired of opening it up.
That's
So, we wanna do something where it's, I think we really need to look at that, because what's happening is more and more people are disconnected from their government. Nobody has time to sit there and you know, sift through a paper sometimes, because everybody's working, you know, a lot of jobs and kids and school and sports and everything else that's got happening. It's hard, you know, just our whole society has changed in that sense. So people don't have the time sometimes to sit down and read papers. So they go on and get their information real quick, boom, 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 you know, like I think, you know, we almost need to even think about possibly doing like a Facebook page or something for the county commissioners if it's legal to do, you know, and then we can put an update on that, you know, something that, and we need to change with the times a little bit of understanding that it's, you know, we need to move electronically a little bit.
Well, what we're really talking about is communications plan.
Right.
And so it's not just a newsletter, it's not doing it's a whole plan, a strategy for how we communicate from this office to the citizens of this county.
Right.
We're not gonna solve it this morning, but I think it's a great thing to start.
Because at the end of the day
And
too,
so-
as if somebody is not happy with decisions we're making, we want to hear that. We want to hear both sides. You know, we don't want everybody to always agree. We don't want everybody to always disagree. But a lot of people don't know what's sometimes is going on.
Sure.
Ralph said that, I'd rather have everybody agree, you know?
So at the end of the day, we work for the voters, and you know, and it's just a situation where we don't have. I feel like we don't have touch with voters to the level that we possibly could.
I'm not gonna disagree with you or anything, but I'm just gonna tell you that the people that know about things now are gonna be the same people that know about things after you do all this. The people that don't know now are gonna be the same people that don't know then. Because it's not, I disagree with you in the sense that everybody's too busy. That is true. But there's a lot of people who just don't care until it affects them. And then they go, well, I didn't know about this. Where was this at? But otherwise, they don't, you know, it doesn't matter to them. That's it. And if you...
But there's nowhere for some of these people to really know where to, I mean, it's hard, you know, I mean, it's hard to reach out there to really be totally, and you know, we would need to make it pretty much, you know, simple, you know, not something that's going to take a long time to read, but here's some of the issues. If you want to go, we could, you know, have it so you could go in to learn more or whatever, but, you know, there's just a lot of stuff that people are totally oblivious to just because there's just, and if there's a report in the paper of it that you know, the few people get and they hear about it, that it's always after the fact. So it would have been nice if they would have been able to say, well, I would have liked to have been part of that conversation because I have this, and this, or, you know, I have, you know, this to say about this, you know. And whenever we do something, I mean, you know, we don't have busy meetings, you know what I mean? There's like, this is a big meeting here. There's a lot of people comparatively speaking to what a lot of our meetings, we just have a couple people. And so, you know, I mean, we're glad that everybody's here, but there's a lot of other people also that can't come in here because they work, and it's tough.
Let me comment on what Blake said for just a second. When I first started attending meetings 5-6 years ago, there was nobody in this audience. There was the news media and me, and then Walt. And then we started communicating through a variety of vehicles, various groups, to other people. Now you have people show up. It's not the same people all the time, but it's citizens who are now showing up because they're informed. When you inform people, and now they know what's going on, that they do get excited. We had close to 300 people at our meeting the other night, on Thursday night, talking about septic systems with Bob Weisdeck and John Eklund. We had a lot of people. You could not have put another body into the Westwoods conference room. I mean, you couldn't squeeze them in. They were already squeezing in because there was some information that they wanted to hear and they wanted to express themselves. There are those sorts of decisions that we're making in this office often that people want to know about, they want to be involved, but they just don't know that those conversations are going on. And so if we can communicate to them, this room will fill up. We may have to change to a bigger room if we start informing people, because this impacts their lives.
Like, are we legal to make a Facebook? Could a county government, can we have a Facebook
Yeah,
page?
a lot
to
of
put our
counties,
meeting
a lot of
agendas and
counties
stuff
do
on it?
that. You know, one of the issues we gotta keep in mind, there's certain guidelines we have to operate under that a business doesn't have. Like, you're creating public records when you create a Facebook page. So you
Right,
gotta
I mean,
have
we
a
have a
process.
standard thing of, you know, of our agenda on there, you know, special meetings, like these appointments, stuff that we would just kind of post out there. You know, we could even post on that to, you know, that, you know, we could just, I mean, it can't be opinion-based, it has to be
Just facts.
facts-based.
Just facts.
That's all,
Just
you know,
facts.
just to say,
But
we have this meeting here on Tuesday, we have this meeting coming up, we're looking, attention residents, we're looking to, put on such and such, you can apply here, click on here to apply online, or whatever.
Well, what I'm saying is, I've been down this road with schools. Every school does it. They send home newsletters. And after the date has passed, the parents come forward and say, I didn't know about it. I didn't see that newsletter. I didn't get that. It's a worthy exercise. I'm not bad-mouthing it. I'm not I'm just saying, it's nothing that we do to disseminate our information is infallible. It's going to have some positive successes, but then you look at somebody and say, well, didn't your kid give you the newsletter? Didn't you get the didn't you find out about this? It went home with the report cards or what have you? And they're sitting in the audience and they look at you or the respective board people, and go, well, you didn't tell me about it. I mean, me meaning them, singularly. They don't care about the other people. It's worth an effort, but it's...
I mean, the Facebook won't really cost us anything, I don't think, right?
No, or in the time of the people to keep the content, because once you make a commitment to have it out there, you gotta keep it fresh. You gotta be, you gotta be putting stuff on. Otherwise, people say, oh, that's...
People have to use it.
People have to use it, and you have to be changing the content all the time, otherwise people won't visit it.
Well, the other thing we need to do, and I've lived through this 100 times with companies and, personally and so forth, you have to have a plan behind it. You can't just shoot from the hip and throw it out there. Especially in the world that we live in, we have to be very careful about violations of sunshine laws and all kinds of stuff. And so this should be by plan, and maybe what we do is, now that the conversation started, we get together. You can't do this behind closed doors, unfortunately. This kind of mundane stuff would be nice to just be able to get together and kind of work through. But maybe we set up a work session where we get you and Linda and whoever else started to the process, get Laura involved so she can help us to lay out what's doable, what's not doable, what kind of risks are we taking, because there's risks with these sorts of things. And then we put a plan together.
Yeah, maybe we even have some conversations individually at the Township Association meeting on Thursday, because having worked with the township for 24 years, this is, to Blake's point, the people sitting in these boards want people to know what's going on generally, because generally they feel they're doing the right thing. And it is kind of disconcerting when you've tried to make the effort and people don't come, and then something comes up that affects them, and they come up and they accuse you of trying to slip something by them. You're not trying to slip anything by them. People weren't here. So you're always, but with technology, we have new opportunities all the time to improve the way we get the reach. And there's always going to be a large number of people, maybe the majority, that will be apathetic and will choose not to engage. But I think we have to try and make it easier to engage wherever we can.
Until it affects them. They're apathetic and they don't care. They can care less till it affects them, and it's like, oh my God, you guys are the enemy.
Well, we keep ourselves out of trouble. I mean, John Ecklund was at that meeting the other day, and he took a beating. He helped to vote for the current septic system rules, and there were, I can't think of one person in that room that was in favor of those septic system rules. But who knew that they should be paying attention and be involved? I mean, I can tell you that those 300 people walked out of that room with a new interest in trying to change the direction.
It's huge.
And so, it's a responsible government to try to communicate to our electorate about what's going on so that they can be involved.
And I think the only thing to add to that is the unfortunate part of it is that, and I don't know how exactly we control that part of it, because you want to give people the freedom of expression and speech and whatever, but it's no different than that bike path.
Right.
We had people from Sandusky and Lorraine and everybody else sending letters,
right,
and writing letters, and
getting engaged.
at the end of the day, it was like, this isn't, you're not even part of this county. All you are is part of a group that is opposed to this, and now all of a sudden, so that's the problem, So I don't know. I mean, it could be a kiss or a curse, I guess.
Apparently, we failed to get the word out about the 9
Yeah, I was
o'clock
just
meeting.
looking at the notice coming in here. and I was like,
Get the notice.
It was in the paper.
wasn't in the newsletter or on the website or anything, apparently.
Exhibit A of people not getting the notice.
Paying attention.
The conversation started, Ralph, with your concern about postage costs, which, that's a valid concern. The question is, when we get done doing all the push-ups, and then we have to come back with additional mailings to people who say they didn't get it, or what have you, are we really gonna save enough money to make it worthwhile? That to me is the issue, not how we're gonna do it as much as if we do it this way, how much money are we gonna save? The one thing I know firsthand, if you want somebody to know something, put that piece of paper in their hand. And direct mail is the only way that you can ensure that. If they get something with their name on it, addressed to them, they're gonna read it. If it comes in a, we all do it. We go down to the mailbox, we pull out an armload of crap, and we go back to the kitchen table and start just chucking things into the wastebasket because they're, doesn't have my name on it, current box holder or whatever. I understand where you're coming from. I share the same issue. I just don't know that that's an easy problem to address. What's it cost us to send something out?
What are you saying,
17 cents is our cost?
That's for a saturation.
For a saturation?
Every door direct is
Every door
17
direct.
cents.
And you can send out like an 8.5 by 11 double-sided for that kind of money?
You could send up to 3 ounces.
3 ounces?
Yeah, and an envelope.
Okay.
But if you don't send it with their name on the envelope,
Yeah.
real good chance they're not gonna read it.
Well, I think we ought to talk to the townships because, they're kind of like our, they're our relatives in this local government. And they have the same problems, very similar.
So I think it's a good, it's a good conversation starter. Let's try to move this forward. Let's not let it drop. So Dave, put that in your list of things to do. You don't have enough to do, so we're gonna do a little more. And so we have a question out here.
I just have one comment. The commissioners have a very good website, and I go there for all of my information. However, I don't do Facebook, never will, never want it. There are a lot of people that do not use their computers very much. And so you have to have something either that directs people to the commissioner's site, and I say that if it's there, why don't you just use it and add your important pieces of information on there rather than going to someplace else yet?
Yep.
But I think another thing is just, put it out. Put out what are the things that are important that you're talking about, because that will get people in.
And some of this, it's worth, first of all, having a bit of a plan, but then do some iterations. So we try something, see if it works, see what kind of response we get, see what people like, don't like, because the younger people, Kim in the back of the room there is a Facebook mad person.
Well, it never used to be.
And
Not until
so,
the campaign. But I will say that it was very effective. I would, because what you can do is if there's something really important that you want to try to make sure people find out about, you can do what's called a boost. And that costs a little bit of money, but like I would spend $15 and reach about 4,000 people. Now that's just people who are on Facebook, but you can target it to the area, so only Geauga County residents, or you might have to, list every city and every township in Geauga County, but you would limit it just to those areas. So it could, as a replacement maybe for a mailed piece, reach most people, at least most people who are on Facebook, or relatively
reach that
small.
lady.
It's
It's
not.
not gonna reach me.
But it's going to reach more people than if you didn't do it at all.
And
I
again,
think-
that might be an age-related thing.
Yeah.
Because I think most
Well, you know, it's
young people-
Well, there
interesting
are a lot of
because
grandparents on Facebook because they want to keep up, they want to see pictures of the
Okay,
grandkids.
grandkids.
Yeah, that's why.
it's interesting because the sheriff has the ability to be able to send a text message to every phone in the park during, or in the fair, during the fair season. That's an interesting concept. We just do a blast to everybody, every cell phone, and if you want to take a bunch of people off, let's do that. Why don't we move on from this conversation? We've got a lot to talk about yet. This has been a good start, so Dave's got this on his task list, and we're going to come back around to this. Let's talk about the NOACA resolution. We got a couple items. NOACA's meeting is coming up this Friday, 9 o'clock, for anybody who's interested in showing up. Board meeting is at 9 o'clock. We have a resolution, and I won't read the resolution unless anybody's interested. But basically, there's a new resolution that that's on the table to add 3 commissioners and our county engineer to the NOACA board, using the premise that the minimum standard should be 3 elected officials, 3 commissioners, and a county engineer, regardless of population, regardless of other factors. Every county in NOACA has 3 commissioners and an engineer other than Geauga County. We're at a disadvantage. Now, even if they approve this resolution, we're still gonna be outvoted, 5-1, because Cleveland has 21 votes on that board. It is just a matter of fairness. Our county engineer, who's probably the most important person in the room when it comes to roads, should be on that board, and we should not have to give up a county engineer in order to make that right. And so we have actually another resolution that's in the works, one that had tried to play the game with NOACA using their rules, and that is 2 commissioners and an engineer, so therefore we lose a vote in that process. And so I don't know what the thought is relative to this resolution versus the one we've got on the table. Is a couple of different strategies. One strategy is to try and press the issue and get them to make a decision on that resolution. Another one is to pull that off the table and say, look, you didn't make a decision on that, we're going to give you a new resolution. So is there any thought from?
Well, I have a question for something you just said. We have 3 votes now. That resolution had 2 commissioners and an engineer, and you say we lose a vote. No, we have the same number of votes. They'd all be voters under that resolution.
Right, in contrast to this.
Okay, in contrast to this,
what's being
okay.
fair.
You lose a vote from the 3 of you. One of you doesn't get the vote.
That's one of the commissioners.
We
doesn't get the votes
voted,
on.
on all that a year ago. We voted on anything, we voted against the bike path, we voted against any number of things. And I think should be noted, we could vote for, continuous sunshine, and they could vote us down. I have no problem signing or voting on this resolution, other than I want it read before we vote on it.
Yeah,
in its entirety. I don't think it's a good habit to get into. I know what it says, but they don't. I have no problem with this and asking them, but we also understand that they could deny it, and we're back where we were.
Well, here's a comment, and then I want to hear from Ralph on this, because I know he's got an opinion on this. We've never reached out to the levers we have available to us. So the resolution that we put in already, that we asked them to do, we're depending completely on NOACA, who could care less about us. I mean, the way that they vote demonstrates Geauga County is a nuisance, and so they just put up with us. Now, we have a new state representative who has influence with the Department of Transportation. We have a state senator who has influence. We have another state representative in Ashtabula who has influence. We have a state senator in Ashtabula, that district, who has influence. We know the district manager for ODOT, who, by the way, has told me that he's on our side on this. And we have other opportunities to press and to create influence with NOACA. NOACA is, at the end of the day, is an agency of the state of Ohio. It's a creature of the federal government, but it is an agent of the state of Ohio. It takes dollars to flow back to the state of Ohio. We've never really done a full court press on pushing every person that we can push. And by the way, I talked to Medina, a county engineer there, or not, excuse me, not county engineer, county commissioner, Adam Fredericks. And he is in favor of this. And I've got to reach out to the other commissioners in Medina to see if I can get 3 people on that board in support of this. If the 3 of us walk in there in support of this, if the 3 commissioners on Medina are in support of this, and we can find anybody else on the board that can be in favor of this and plead the case, there's an opportunity. I don't
In
know how great
favor
an
of
opportunity.
this.
Yes, in favor of, well, either. Now, I'm suggesting that getting 1 more vote is better than giving up a vote, or not giving up a vote, but, you know, not having a county engineer losing a commissioner vote on that board. And so, that's my case, so I'll shut up at that point.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease too. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Well, that's.
The more you
that's
push
true.
at them, the more attention you get.
Yeah, but that might not be good. You can get bad attention as well. I mean, they kind of issued an ultimatum at the end of last year.
Reactive or proactive?
I don't, just, like I say, I'm in favor of voting for this. Skip has had an ongoing contentious relationship with this group from the beginning. Is that fair to say, Skip?
They're challenged. They've been
Okay,
challenged.
that's what I'm saying. And Skip has been instructed by, I believe, at one point in time, every member of this board that go ahead, as long as we get our money. I don't care if we belong to somebody in, you know, Haiti on this darn thing. As long as we get a couple $1 million a year for our roads, I don't care.
Well, at the end of this, this does not even do any harm. Not approving this is just simply further sign on their part.
We're no further.
That they're, you know, so, I mean, we can make the request, they approve it, they don't approve it.
We're right where we are now.
And so, you know, no harm, no foul. But you never know where things can go if you ask the question.
Well, I move that we read the
So
resolution and
did you
vote on it.
have a comment on it, Rob?
I mean, I
you
don't
care?
see the point of sending this down. We sent this thing down already a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, we did, but,
But not the same resolution. We sent a resolution to
Pretty
get one of
close.
our.
yeah, it was real close, I think.
Pretty close. And
Hey, it doesn't cost me anything to sign my name and vote, I'll vote.
I think that my biggest concern is that, you know, I think that the biggest complaint that we had through this whole thing was, you know, that, we just had some people that represented this county last year, or represented, you know, the county at Geauga that, you know, was some concern, but at the end of the day, I guess everybody gets to pick their alternate, so it's just unfortunate right now we don't have a county engineer, but I think all 3 of us stand pretty firm on the fact that we want a representation and by our person, and really the whole thing of this NOAC is for, you know, our roads, and we don't have the ability of having our engineer down there, and so that, and we could, I think that at the end of the day, all this is just lip service, and I don't think that it's, I think that we're the minority. Those people are set in their thoughts and in their ways of doing things, and you just have to understand, you know, when in Rome, do as the Romans, and we're kind of a little bit out of our realm there, so.
Well, we certainly are at a disadvantage, and I would suggest that anybody go out, when NOACA says that they're about roads and bridges, go look at their website. This Friday's meeting is going to be discussing their strategic plan. Their strategic plan is wrapped around that NEOSC plan, and it is not about roads and bridges. If you start looking at their strategic plan, it is about a lot more than that, and I was just reading it before coming in here today, and it is about protecting our parks, and, well, I don't say protecting our parks, it is about changing the structure of the parks. Cleveland, not us Geauga County residents making decisions. It is Cleveland and the surrounding regional authorities making decisions on land, furthering interests in land, furthering, you know, planning relative to a whole host of things which has nothing to do with roads and bridges. And so, you know, we can go into that meeting, and in my case, I'll stand up and respectfully vote no to some of the nonsense that they're promoting, because it's built on lies, deception, and manipulation. That whole strategic plan that they've got is built on lies, distortions, and manipulation. And we've challenged it, and we've challenged it, and they don't want to hear it. But here's an opportunity for us to get yet one more voice at the table. So.
And just to add to this, if we couldn't get this thing through last year when the president of NOACA sat on this board, what makes you think we're going to get it through this year? When we had somebody that was the president that couldn't do something, why all of a sudden is this year going to change? And I guess that's my question to you, is how do you feel that this year has changed?
Well, it's changed in that we have now 3 voices at the table, at least 2 of that I know for sure, that have a different thought of it. So the individual that you're referring to who was on the board voting, rubber stamping everything that they wanted to do is now no longer there. And we've got at least 1, and I think 2 more, possibly 3 more out of McDonald County that are going to be allies to ours. And so the mix has changed. It's not going to change the vote, generally speaking. But
and I understand that, but at the end of the day, in order to be put in as president of the NOACA board, you've got to have enough of a relationship and contact and likeliness with all the other board members that vote you on to be able to be nominated and put on that position. So at that point in time, what I'm asking you is that if we were not able to get this done last year with the president of NOACA, which was on this board, what makes you think we could get this through now?
well, I mean, good point. The past resolution we submitted has not been passed, so it made a statement. This just makes yet another statement. If we continue, I mean, as people,
But we have already put this in, why can't we get an answer on this?
I've told people before, I'm the most persistent person in this room. I never give up. And so I will go down fighting with my claws on the throat of whoever, because I won't give up. Now, whether we leave the other resolution in there asking for that, or put a new resolution saying, okay, you didn't agree with that one, we're putting another one in. And by the way, our state representative's getting a hold of the DOT, Department of Transportation, of the state of Ohio, because there's something going on here that's not fair, and it's not equitable, it's not right.
All right. I mean, Skip, if you want to read this, I would just, let's read it then. I don't know, I mean, I don't think that we're on the same playing field on this, but.
But what would you like to do, Ralph? I mean, do you want to leave the other one in there?
To be honest with you, I mean, we sent this down last year.
Not this one.
But we sent
Well,
it.
it was close.
It was real close to this. So if you want to send another one down, then let's send another one down.
Kim, do you have a comment?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a comment on this because I did read the resolution. And regardless of whether they actually pass it, because I know that's definitely a big question, I think it's really good to initiate a conversation about the way NOACA is structured in the first place. They run it like a democracy where they're basing the number of representatives for each county on the population. But we know through history that's not the best way to run an organization or a government or anything. The best way to do it is for it to be formed like a republic. And that's what this would do, is initiate that conversation and say, look, you know, it's not fair, not just because of the numbers, but, you know, there's a reason socialists love democracy, and they like to keep saying over and over that we are a democracy when we're not, we're a republic. So I think that that would be an important conversation that could stem from this, even if that particular resolution doesn't get passed.
I think an important thing at this point in time would be for the young lady who just spoke to identify herself to the public as not, I'm not sure that everybody that watches our broadcasts or listens to this knows who she is and what her interest would be in a Geauga County issue. So if you don't mind identifying yourself, that a lot of times we'll have people stand up and say where they live, what their reason for being here is. I think it's appropriate that we do that with the lady in the back.
Sure. My name is Kim Laurie, and I am Ralph Spitaler's alternate on the board of NOACA.
And you live where?
In Willoughby.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Elsie.
My name is Elsie Tarsi, and I'm a Geauga County resident. And I would just say, I echo everything that Ms. Loria said. I think, I've been to the NOACA meeting, and I find that it's a fait accompli. We're just there. Geauga County is just there. We have no real power on that board, and I agree with her. That makes no sense. We should be equally represented, and we're not. And the other part of that is, we talked about, and Chris Hipley had made the suggestion at one of the meetings, that why is Geauga County in this, or in this? Why are we lumped with Cuyahoga County? Maybe Geauga County shouldn't be. It should be with another
MPO.
MPO, thank you.
Well,
So,
that challenge was given to Skip on numerous times. If you could get us out of here and get us someplace where we get our millions of dollars, even though it's not a fair share, if we don't get that money, I want to tell everybody in the room, if you don't already know it, there'll be a tax issue on the ballot because we don't have the money. Even though it's $2 million or $3 million, or it varies, it's more than chump change is what it is. Get us the money, and I don't care, like I said, I don't care if we join an operation in Haiti. I don't care. Just, I don't want to come to the voters. Personally, I don't want to pay more taxes either. But I sure don't want to go to the voters and say, oh, by the way, we got to make up a $2 to $3 million shortfall for roads and bridges in our county. Now, having said that, bike paths, I don't know, a chandelier over Main Street, some of that crap, I don't want to hear about it. But I don't want to have to raise taxes to fix our chuckles.
Nobody's asking you not to have the money, and I understand where you're coming from, and I understand that. But I'm just saying, if we don't try.
Well, that's what I said. Let's sign this thing, send it down there. If they turn it down, we're out.
Well, the other side of this, and first of all, I want to make a really clear point to people. There is no guarantee of any money coming out of NOACA. The history has been up until this point, but they're going to cry the blues because of, for a variety of reasons. They've been burning money up left and right on things that are not roads and bridges for I can't tell you how long. I mean, look at the miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of soundproofing walls going up around farmers' fields. Go down 270 or go down 71 toward Columbus and see the soundproofing walls going up next to a field. Okay, the amount of money being wasted through programs like NOACA is over the top. They burn that money up and then they come back and complain, oh, we don't have any money. Well, geez, it's less money to go around. So yeah, up until this point, on average, about $2 million. We've been getting 3, 4, 2. But everybody's been floating in dough because of stimulus dollars and a bunch of other stuff. There's no guarantee going forward that there's going to be money coming out of NOACA or what that money happens to be. And so, with that said, if we submit this resolution, the other part of this is they might go motivated to vote the other one up. Because this asks for a little bit more, and they'll say, well, we'll just give you the old one. So at least we won a battle. So there's some strategy here, who knows? I mean, they're probably going to watch this video, and they'll say, the heck with Geauga County, because you don't count, so.
I called Grace Gallucci last week. I wasn't sure what the schedules were and so on. And her question to me is, does Geauga County want to get out of here? We'll let you go. That's what she said.
All right. Well, with that said, let me read the resolution, and if we had agreement on it, and we'll see where this goes. And everybody who's in this room and everybody you know should be calling your representatives and asking them to help us. They represent our county. They should be helping us to represent our county. So the resolution says this: whereas the Geauga County Board of Commissioners understands the importance of federal aid transportation funding to help fund highway and transit departments for the county, and whereas Northeastern Ohio Area Coordinating Agency is the controlling metropolitan organization for federal and funding available to Geauga County, and whereas Geauga County is a member of NOACA and has representatives to make regional transportation funding decisions within the framework of NOACA, and whereas it is noted that each of the 4 counties in the NOACA MPO is represented on the NOACA Governing Board by all 3 county commissioners and the elected county engineer. And whereas while recognizing the existing population basis for apportionment of the members amongst the NOACA region, but contending that the membership of each county should in all cases include the full executive branch as well as the elected official directly responsible for construction, maintenance of the county roads, oversight of the construction of township roads, it is the position of Geauga County Commissioners that each NOACA board member, each NOACA member county is entitled to a minimum representation of at least 3 county commissioners and the county engineer. And now therefore be it resolved that the Geauga County Board of Commissioners respectfully requests that NOACA amend its Code of Regulations 4.2 to reflect a revised board total of 45, increasing the Geauga County membership as specified in section 4.2 parentheses E to the minimum level of 4, namely the 3 county commissioners and the county engineer. Be it resolved that the clerk of Geauga County Board of Commissioners is I think you need to make a little bit of correction here. Shall thereafter transmit a certified copy of this resolution to NOACA.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
You have an official copy of that we're gonna send down because we have
Well,
that
I think
typo.
I think it needs a correction.
We need to
Take the is off.
take the is off.
Take the is off. and you're good.
So is that,
I will, you can sign it if you want, and then I will correct it and you'll sign it over.
no, we'll just hold off on that. All right.
I'll go print another one if that's the only, do you have a resolution number?
It's already in there.
Oh, it's in there? I'll just take the is off and print it out.
Okay.
Okay. Already mentioned the website, Director of Planning vacancy. Chagrin River Partnership. We've been a member of the Chagrin River Partnership, and our dues are going to be coming due here shortly. I'm not sure exactly why we belong to that organization. I've attended a number of the board meetings. I'm not sure what they do for Geauga County, so I thought I'd throw that out on the table for discussion and decide whether maybe or not we want to pass that, or leave the membership.
How much is the membership?
Yeah, how much the membership is? I don't know, it's $5,000–6,000, something like that.
I'd like to know how much it is. I don't know what they do either. I went to a couple of meetings, but I know one way to find out what they do is to drop out, and then if it falls apart.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the value is, again.
I don't know.
I've been to a number of the meetings. The only thing that I can say concretely that they did was they were involved in putting an impermeable paver parking lot in Chesterland at a cost of $250,000. And to clean up water across Chesterland. I mean, it's a little parking lot. The water bypasses that permeable paver part of the parking lot more than it goes in it. And so for the residents of Chesterland to spend the amount of money that they spent in that parking lot, I was not in favor of that. And so if those are the sorts of recommendations that they make, I'm not sure that it's worth the money, and you know, it's time. We attend a lot of meetings, board meetings and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure it's worth the time of attending yet another board meeting. I just don't see the value in it personally. Dave, do you know what the dues are to the Chagrin Valley River Partnership?
Not offhand, a couple $1,000, I believe.
I thought that was around 3.
Yeah, between 2,500
I mean,
and
we looked
3,000.
at that last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other.
Do we want to, we'll get an exact number, and then at the next meeting, we can have a discussion around that and make a decision whether we're gonna continue to be members or not. Anybody who's in the public who has a feeling on that can come and express themselves. And we'll make that decision and move on. Okay, I think that's it. Let's, there's a number of things coming up and acknowledgements. The weekly report by the Geauga County Dog Warden of all seized dogs impounded, redeemed, destroyed for the week ending January 7th. It has been filed by the county dog warden. The annual statement of unpaid fees for the calendar year 2013 was filed by the Sheriff's Office. I have an accurate account of all fees, costs, penalties, percentages, allowances, prerequisites, and the remainder for the year. pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 325.31. Meetings coming up, Geauga County Township Association meetings at 6:30, Parkland Congressional, or Congregational, Congregational, so it's very simple. On the 22nd, NOACA has a board meeting from 9 until 1 in Cleveland, downtown at their Palacios building, on the 23rd. The Family First Council is at 2 o'clock. Jobs and Family Services on the 26th. The Commissioners are going to hold regular service at 9 o'clock on the 27th and have an evening session at 6:30 on the 29th. The NOACA Subcommittee meetings, air quality, transportation, and water quality meetings are going to be the 30th at noon. Pardon?
9, 10:30 and noon.
Oh, yeah, that's right, no, I'm sorry. Air quality is at 9 o'clock, transportation at 10:30, water quality is at noon. And so, and I think that's all the meetings. Anybody have any other discussion items?
Can you bring a new copy of that in? We need to sign that.
Yes.
Oops, somebody spelled my name wrong.
What? Yeah, it's not a C, it's an M.
Oh.
While we're waiting for Christie to do that, we had a gentleman who's a veteran.
Do it for mine.
Who brought in a document that came from our historical, and it's a historical view. I'll read it while we're waiting. Is that okay with you?
Please.
In May of 1919, in Dusseldorf, Germany, the Allied forces obtained a copy of some of the communist rules for revolution. Nearly 50 years later, the Reds are still following the rules. As you read the first, stop after each item and think about the present-day situation where you live and all around our nation. These are the rules for apparently changing society. Corrupt the young and get them away from religion. Get control of all means of publicity. Divide the people into hostile groups by constantly harping on controversial matters. Encourage government extravagances, destroying its credit, producing fear. Cause the registration of all firearms on some pretext with a view of confiscating them. So, you know, governments sometimes use bad means in order to accomplish their ends.
I like the date on this document, January of 1970. Nothing
I
really
say we
changed.
held on to this. I'm a historian of World War II veterans and their stories.
And did you want to start? Go ahead and make a comment.
And Skip, I was going to try to make it for tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to have a conflict, but I have, of my years, 75, of which I've been and I remember Pearl Harbor, just to give you a start. I was a sponge of all the stories of the World War II veterans, prisoners of war and such. And Esther's brought to my attention that tomorrow there's a meeting about a flyer or a questionnaire going to the school children. And I started reading it, and it brought back a story of a German Hitler Youth Group person who is here in this country now and lives in Geauga County, and he told me this story. The Nazis passed out, he was in the Hitler Youth Group, passed out a questionnaire to the schools, and the questionnaire read, verbatim as best I can, does your mother bake? What do you like? Kuchen? Candy? What meat do you like to eat? Pork? Pheasant? Does your father hunt? What game does he like to shoot? What kind of gun does he use to shoot the game? Where does he keep the gun? In a safe place? Who in your family speaks against our beloved Führer? Who is this person? And it went on. Within the next 2 days, the houses were raided. by the secret police. The fathers were hauled away. The guns were hauled away. And then the children were crying that why did this happen? They betrayed their family through one of these questionnaires. And that's what I see when I read this questionnaire going to the schools, without the people, the families, the parents knowing what is in there. That's behind the back, it's sneak. It's communist, it's Nazism at its worst. And it's right here knocking on our doors, and we've got to stop it. Thank you.
Thanks for the comment. And what was your name for the record?
Robert Lasko, veteran, twice, Army, United States Air Force, and United States Army, and disabled veteran. Thank you.
Nothing else on to adjourn. I mean, we're hanging around for this big hearing. Did you proof it? Is your name right?
Your name is correct.
I didn't even look at mine.
We have a second.